First of
Yeah,
all,
this
I
is a
don't know what,
facility charge. I don't get why they're billing it on a professional claim form. And then there's no auth either. Because we don't bill 5,000 for professional, do
I
we?
should probably mute everyone. I know. There you go.
I think it sounds like you're gonna need to,
Host to participate.
Done.
okay. So, I appreciate the comments. I don't know what the king is up to, but I can tell you what I'm doing. In the trenches with our people, we're doing very simply something that is just a lot of work, and it is a lot of prospecting. If you're going to get listings today, you got to realize how much noise there is out there. And we talked about this in the listing clinic. All of the North American continent, as far as I know, because it's going on in Canada too. Everybody's under a big assault to sell their homes to them or to somebody else. I've never seen so much activity. I'm getting it. I mean, I'm literally sitting here looking at two people wanting to make offers on my properties. I own some real estate. So I'm getting called daily. I'm getting text daily. I'm getting stuff in my email, in my snail mail, and I've never seen such an assault going on ever. And in that environment, if you want to get a listing, you have simply got to be louder than you're being. And marketing works, but prospecting works better. So when we know that something is harder to do, meaning get a listing appointment, you got to put your best foot forward, which is going to be prospecting. And if you don't have enough listings, you don't have that much going on that's more important than trying to find a listing. And it literally is going to mean you're going to have to talk to more people. But having said that, I also think it matters who you talk to. And what some of you need to do is think about talking to your Met database, more important than anything. But some of you need to think about talking to potential core advocates. And core advocates are people described in the Red Book to some degree, but not well. So the agents that were studied that were netting $1 million, and by the way, this is true today too with MREA2 data, but the people that were netting $1 million had 1,920 Mets. And of those, they had 5 core advocates. 5 people that netted $1 million had 5 people called core advocates. They had 50 advocates and then 100 affiliates, which I think a better name for that group would be networked people, people that you see and talk to regularly. It's a little different concept, but same thing. But here's the point. Core advocates, people kind of look at that and go, okay, those must be your raving biggest single fans who send you the most referrals. No, that's not what they are. They're people that have a need for real estate services and they're not in real estate. They're typically white collar professionals or other business people who give advice about real estate or have real estate and they're not in real estate. So a classic example of that would be a small builder. Another one would be a estate and probate attorney. Another one might be a human resource director. But all of these people have opportunities to help people that need to buy or sell real estate. And with the small builder, they actually personally need to buy lots to build on, and they need to sell the houses, the spec houses that they build. And we can list those. An estate and probate attorney has people who have deceased and their estates typically live somewhere else and they want the house sold and they get a steady stream of those. People, don't take this grotesquely, but people are dying every day that own homes and those homes will be sold. And these are all people that can give you multiple listing opportunities a year, multiple. I have one agent in our Jacksonville office, Stephen Judd. He's heard me talk about this in lead generation classes for about a decade. And he finally said, all right, I'm going to try this estate and probate thing. And I told him how to do it. And I told y'all how to do it in the listing clinic. And he created it. He sent out the professional materials out, the brochure about how he would serve their clients, the estate and probate attorney's clients, in the disposition of real property. And by doing so, he would save time and money for the family and for the attorney. So it's a real win-win. You do some things for them, and then you get a listing to sell. And there is no referral fee on those, which is lovely, just absolutely lovely. But anyway, Stephen, he didn't send them out to 10, which is what I recommended. He sent them out to 3, and he listed one of them. And when I say listed, I'm meaning he's now in service to an estate and probate attorney. And as of 2 weeks ago, when I talked to him, he had 7 pending listings from one estate and probate firm. 7. That probate attorney is so happy with Stephen, he's referring him to another probate attorney. So Stephen is not following the formula that I laid out, but he is getting the result. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. I still would recommend you send your collateral material out to 10 estate and probate attorneys, increasing the odds that you will get at least 2 or 3 appointments in order to talk about your services. So I think the focus is to understand people that you know, past clients in Sphere are going to be moving. That national rate is somewhat unknown right now. And I really mean that. We finished the year in the industry, we finished the year with a huge year of 6.4 million sales. The year before, 2020, we did 5.6. It's an 800,000 increase in 1 year, and we have never seen anything like that. We have never seen anything like that. That big of an increase in 1 year sales. What it looks like we may have done is robbed Peter to pay Paul. We literally probably sucked a large amount of what would have been our spring listing business out of this year. We sucked it out. And now we're sitting here going, where's the sellers? Where's the sellers? And that, I think, has slowly become clear to people around the country that we have drained the pipe. That pipe will get rebuilt, because what drives, and forgive me for those of you who paid attention at the listing clinic, what drives most people's moves are life events. So as we just said, people are going to continue to die, unfortunately. People are going to get divorced, unfortunately. But people are also going to get job promotions and need to move. Some people are going to up and move because of other reasons like COVID. Right now, the whole cycle of the normative curve of population movement is just, it's tossed up in the air. And we don't know where those chips are going to fall down, but we do know that people are going to be selling. So if we have robbed the spring volume, we still have 6 to 9 months more of housing moves that are probably going to start to show up. The most important thing to understand is that before people actually put their home on the market, is they start thinking about it. They start thinking about it. And there are more people thinking about moving today than ever. And Keller Williams has talked about this, but at the last family reunion, which was digital, we had the people from Google and Facebook both talking about it from this perspective. They are seeing more search and more information and more videos being viewed about selling real estate than ever before. So we know there are more people who think about it than actually do it, but we know the people that think about it but don't do it now do it later. So we know that there's a lot of interest in moving. We know that for a fact. I'm going to hope, and I don't know if this is going to come true or not, but I'm going to hope we have simply drained the first quarter. Last year, that 800,000 pop, we drained it, and now it's going to start to get replenished in the spring. If that's true, you can either get there too late or you can get there too early, and too early is right now. Right now, you might be early for some of these people, but you better get into dialogue with them. So with your past clients in Sphere, I think it's going to be care calls every 30 days. Some of you that have really big spheres, like my wife and I, 5,600. We're not going to call them all, but you would call your core and then spread out. In other words, get into the less important circles. So I would talk to your advocates, your core advocates. I would talk to your affiliates, your network groups about moving. And then I would spread out, if you have the time, to everybody else. If you don't have the time, then you've got to focus on those key people, because here's the thing. If you call 200 people, that will lead to follow-up phone calls, and that will lead to follow-up phone calls. So your phone calls are going to increase as your pipelines grow. What should happen? As your pipelines grow, follow-up calls have to be done. Every person that enters into your pipeline, somebody says, well, we're thinking about it. We're not sure, but yeah, we just might. Interest rates are creeping up. We might want to go ahead and buy and get the interest rate, but we haven't decided yet. So that's a follow-up call next month, follow-up call 2 weeks later, follow-up call a week later. And yes, we're ready to meet. So everyone you put in that pipe creates 8 more conversations minimum if you simply follow the 8x8 mindset. So you keep adding people and you keep adding, and the number of calls you need to make grows exponentially to the number of people in your pipeline. So you just can't do everybody. Now, back to the core advocate thing. You need to realize, if you had 2 or 3 people that gave you 15, 20 listings or more a year, that for a lot of you would radically change your game. And that opportunity's been sitting there all along. Redbook's over 25 years old, and it's right there in the center of the bullseye. Core advocates, 5 of them, and most agents don't do anything to find a core advocate. So I think right now, if you're sitting there going, I don't know where I'm going to get any lit. I don't know. You know what? Go get a core advocate. So on your own time, you can revisit the listing clinic where we discussed creating the professional brochure, 4, 5, 6 pages long, and go after those target groups. And remember the target groups. You've got, again, some of you, forgive me for repeating, you've got the human resource directors, you've got the certified financial planners, you've got the CPAs, you've got the accounting firms, you've got the what we already discussed about the estate and probate attorneys. You've got small builders, you've got land developers. Now, all of these are going to take work. You're going to have to find them. You're going to have to develop your plan, your strategic business plan to get them. And then you're going to have to follow up. And if you get a nibble, you're going to have an appointment, and then you're going to have to present. So you got to have what to say, ready to go. And this can happen very quickly with you. This can literally happen very quickly because there's very little competition. And I hate to say it again, but these people need our services, and agents are not working them. Agents are not going after them. And remember, HR directors that do corporate relocation, inbound and outbound, already have somebody that they're using for that. But number one, they might be needing to change. Number 2, they might be doing more relocation. There are a lot of companies that are shifting people around the country right now. We just got asked to sign up for another corporate relocation group, which I haven't been solicited in a long time. Rebecca and I do corporate relocation, and we are SCRP designees from the ERC, which almost guarantees you corporate relocation. But I haven't been solicited in a long time, so there's movement there. However, you can get in the back door with an HR person by employee enrichment programming, which we talked about. And that is a great way to get in the back door, start to do seminars and get business out of the corporation, and then get an invitation possibly to, well, would you consider doing some of our HR reload? And then of course you'd say, of course I will. And then you get your foot in the door. Now, I'm not sure, Colleen, what kind of format you've got here. Do you want to do any Q&A, or do you want me to?
Well, everyone is open to type in the chat box any questions you have, or if you want to interrupt or raise your hand, we're happy to allow you to speak on this call. But no, I mean, everybody got a page and a half of notes, so you're doing great. I'm sure everyone else thinks the same thing. Oh, Yatish has got one. Happy
Hey,
Valentine's
Yatish.
Day, Yatish.
Happy Valentine's Day, and thank you and welcome, Jean Rivers. You are a blessing to us forever.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. It's very nice of you.
And I just cannot afford to miss any word which comes out of your mouth on any subject.
Well, you are making me blush like a Valentine. So knock it off, Yatish, knock it off.
Okay, quickly. Of course, I'm blessed. I have some buyers which the interest rate. My question is on interest rate. Interest rate in October, I did my own 2.625. And suddenly it became 3. Now, yes, last week was 3.875. Is that going to? Sorry. Is that going to? Let me turn it off. Is that going to? Is that going to come back to 3.25, or it's going to go 3.875 and keep going to 4% in next 1 to 2 months? Any kind of calculated assessment on that?
I will say Jean doesn't have a crystal ball, so I don't want you to feel as if you're giving us bad advice.
Yeah, no calculated assessment.
No, I don't have a crystal ball. You're right about that, but I don't need a crystal ball. When the Fed has announced that they're going to make 4 strategic increases this year, the very next one, or the first one, is March. So it's right around the corner. And you all know this, I know, but the Fed does not directly impact mortgage rates, but it will impact mortgage rates when you raise the price of money that banks have to pay to the federal government or to other banks. When you raise the cost of money that the bank turns around and lends to people to buy a house, then they have to raise the rate on that money. So it's indirect, but it's absolutely cause effect. So you're going to get an increase. Now, the only reason you won't get an increase, and this happens, if the Fed does raise their rate and you don't get an interest rate increase, it's because it already happened. Because often what lenders do is they start raising their rates before the Fed actually raises the rate, because they can monetize that. They know that they'll get that extra money because in a matter of a couple of weeks, everybody will be at that rate. So they'll just go ahead and raise their rate and start making money ahead of the benchmark. So there are going to be some increases. And I mean, I hate to say this, but it's needed. We have too high an inflation rate. And the only 2 things that are going to bring it down is if we suddenly solved all the supply chain problems, and that ain't going to happen. And the other thing is that they raise the interest rates that banks pay for money, which will drive up the cost of everything, unfortunately, and that will cool off buying, which will lower the inflation rate. So it's a very difficult game they're trying to play, but it's the only tool in their toolkit right now. And they can't sit around and stare at 7% and think it's okay. It's not okay. It's really horrific. It's really horrific. So they will, and they've said this, Yatish, is not me. They said they will continue to raise rates until they see a negative trend in the inflation rate. And they don't mean a little bit. They mean get back down to 5, 4, somewhere, and then they'll maybe stop raising rates. We could see them clock up 4 or 5%. I mean, we could. Their normal raise is a 0.5 point, but they're not shy about doing a 3/4 point. And whatever they raise, the interest rate normally is a 1/4 point or more above that, because that's the money they need to make on the money they're now paying. So it's going to happen. And there are articles you should download. If your consumers are worried about this, don't be the voice of here's what's going to happen. Just download articles. You can get them out of the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times. You can get them out of the Financial Times, but everybody's talking about this. So there are articles that you can just say, everyone should be aware of this, and give them the article to read about what the Fed's plans are for this year in terms of raising the discount rate, which will indirectly but directly cause interest rates to go up.
Thank you. And my absolutely, the banks have already done the preeminent or strike already, and they have suddenly raised 0.5% in last 1 or 2 weeks, just immediately after the Fed announcement. And I see before the election, if they have to save the election, they have to increase the rate to up to 5% to bring the gas prices at the pump station down. Otherwise, they have lost the election. So which will definitely, that's my prediction. And I don't have a crystal ball, it's calculation. So that means that half of these buyers will run away out of the market. So they are disappeared. So the only genuine buyers and then investors will come up who will pay 100% cash, and home prices will stop rising from March end. That's my calculated assessment and not the crystal ball. March end, the home prices stop rising, please, cap.
Well, we will
So-
see what happens, Yatish.
No, that's the
In about a month.
calculation. That's
Yeah.
because so I have to calculate. My buyers are like pushing me for everything and not listening to me. So I am making a chart today, Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to tell them the effect of 3 to 3.5, 4, 4 to 5. This is your mental limitation, or weed is like 1 million is the max, you cannot go up. Your 1 million means what in monthly payment? So it's thank you, and I really appreciate your everything what you said.
Well,
Thank you, Yatish.
Thank you. You
And
know-
Jean, just a quick question, right? Maybe, is there anything that you yourself, or you're having your team when they're doing these care calls or lead generating, or rather prospecting, anything to get people to think differently about maybe equity in the house? Where, how do you, maybe like a few things to get them to say, yes, I'll take an appointment. Let me learn a little bit more. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things that you should talk about. And this is still true right now today. People that aren't selling often are talking about, but prices are so high right now. And agents sometimes feed into that by saying, oh my God, prices are really high. Don't say that. There is evidence that what has happened, and we discussed this in the listening clinic, is simply getting back to parity. If you look at, and Gary's going to show this week, I guarantee it, because he shows it every single year, digital or live, he shows it. He and Jay will be talking about the trend lines in price and units. And they're going to be showing you where, going back 30 years, we had about a decade of 4% appreciation. And then it started going above 4%, and it peaked
As your Emerald card.
in 2006 and set a record high at the time. And then it fell to a record low. You all know this. And then we started crawling out of the big collapse. And they said, and I'm not telling you they were wrong, but they said it appears that we have permanently lost value in the real estate market, because now we're back at 4% a year. And that was true from 12, 13, 14. And they simply said, we're back on 4%, but it's below where we would have been had we stayed on the 4%. Well, guess where we are right now? We're right where prices would have been if it had been 4% for the whole dang time. So the bell curve, there's an argument, we have actually gotten back to parity where pricing should be. That's an argument that you need to remember. And the other argument is you still have low interest rates. Everybody's got their hair on fire about, oh my God, did you see it's almost 4%? And everybody needs to shut up about that. I remember rates in double digits. So, you know, anything at 6 or under is a great rate. And we need to remember people can sell their home for top dollar ever and buy low, meaning buy a low interest rate. And everybody knows you spend more money on the interest on a 30-year loan than you do on the principal contribution. So where do you save a lot of money, on the price or on the interest? On the interest. So it's still a time to sell high and buy low. And when rates do start to go up, what's the trend? They go up for a while. They don't go up and then immediately retreat again. Just like when they went low and stayed low for years. And now we're creeping back up. So the trend line would say, if you like a low interest rate, you need to do it now. Get the most money you can get for your house and go buy that house at parity value and get a low rate. And that's a smart thing to do. For anybody who's going to be buying, they think in the next year or two, they need to do it now if they need to sell in order to buy. This is still the right time to do that. So that's kind of some of the call dialogue. And the other thing is about inventory. Now, right now at the moment, it's not looking pretty. It looks like we did rob the first quarter inventory, Colleen. But the last year shows at 6.4 million sales that that was literally more listings to choose from than any year in the last 10 years. So people who were able to sell got something to buy, but the strategy of buying has totally changed. They had to be really nimble, really quick, and they needed to be mentally ready to make an offer that would win. But it's not true that there's nothing to buy. There's more to buy than ever before. Now, again, right now, I don't know if that's going to be true for this year or not. We're sitting on low listing inventory, not anything but new. The new listing inventory count year to date around the country is abnormally low. So this is not low inventory due to everybody buying everything. This is the new listing inventory is abnormally low, significantly low, significantly low. So I hope that reinvigorates in the next 60 to 90 days max, but that's what we're talking about. That's what we were talking about until these low numbers going, oh my gosh. By the way, the bottom line, Colleen, on all this is an agent better be studying the market constantly because it is changing constantly right now. I mean, literally, we had a huge year and all of a sudden, like the well is dry and it's like, what? And I just don't believe the well is dry permanently. I don't think that's true at all. I think there's going to be people popping back up in the next 60 days, maybe faster.
I agree. I think that rumor, they always say everyone's sleepy until the Super Bowl, and it was a week later this year. So I'm like, all right, now let's get all the signs in the ground.
That's right. That's right. That could absolutely be true. And remember, people that move, they move for real reasons, emotional reasons, babies, births, that's not stopping. And that's going to happen. And that is the majority of the moves.
It is. It is. Any last parting words as we're at the 30-minute mark? And thank you so much again for your time, Gene.
I would tell all of you, if you're not going to the physical reunion, you need to be watching it because not only is our industry struggling mightily with listing inventory at the moment, that is the market of the moment. Our industry is also in turmoil and change, lawsuits with Keller Williams and EXP and, leadership swaps. We got their president. They want our ex-president, right? I mean, it is an amazing thing to be watching. The war that we've been talking about for several years in our industry is at fever pitch, right in the middle of all this dang mess. And you need to be clued in and hear what our company is seeing and what our company is doing, because it's significant. You're going to be listening to the most important person in the residential real estate industry talking to you. Listen to him. Listen to him.
Before that, what is the most authentic source of getting the real estate information beside waiting for the family reunion? Is that Inman or is that there another source over there?
I think you need to get a drip from NAR and your state association and Inman and Risk Media, the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times financial sections, and just pay attention to those. I don't think you can read one thing, Yatish. I think you need to read several things. If you really want to understand what's going on, you need to hear a lot of voices.
I leave that to you. I will read only one.
No more sleep, everyone. No more sleep. Oh, well, thank you so much, Gene. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And I look forward to seeing you in Orlando. And we definitely look forward to hearing what Gary has in store and everyone else at the top. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
See
Thank
you
you.
later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Buying my tickets now.